Hello YouTube, this is Victor and welcome back. Today is the third part of the video around turbulence. So if you haven't seen video 1 and 2, don't freak out. You can actually watch this one first. There's not a specific order for that. Just stay and watch this video, and at the end I put the link to the other 2 videos I've already made around turbulence. Welcome aboard. So as I explained the last few weeks, the planes have been really designed to go through severe turbulence, and the brain won't break. So you don't have to worry about that. But I know you can be a little bit stressed around turbulence, so there are a few tips that pilots have to avoid turbulence, to minimize the effect. The first one is actually to fly higher. So if the turbulence is on the level and then the plane can still go higher, then that's a good way to avoid it. Other tip, easy, to go lower than turbulence. So if you're gonna go higher because you're already around like 40,000 feet, you might want to go under the turbulence, and that should minimize the effect. Another way, if it's a severe one, is to avoid it. Like if you see an accident on the road, you're going to try to avoid it with pretty much the same thing. So they will slightly change the flight plan with air traffic control and avoid the turbulence. And if you look at the en route map on the in-flight entertainment system, you can see sometimes there's like a little bit of a detour that's usually made to avoid turbulence. The last one, and it's only for mild turbulence, they can actually slow down. A pilot one day told me that if you slow down in the turbulence, the effects are not as strong as when you go fast. I don't know if that's true. That's one pilot who told me that, but I'm not a pilot myself, only a flight attendant, so I'm not the one flying the plane. So there are a few tips that pilots have, and of course they've got a lot of resources. I explained last week they can avoid it. Usually they'll have most of the turbulence on their flight plan, so they plan to avoid it to begin with, and they share the information on the radio with other airlines or other planes who actually been through that route just before. So they kind of know usually what's happening. Now, if you are a nervous flyer, there are a few things that can help you. And the first thing I would say will be to tell the flight attendant when you board, say, hey, I'm a nervous flyer. And usually they will look after you. They'll come and check on you every time something is happening. They make sure you have water to stay hydrated. They will talk to you. They reassure you. Remember, we are flight attendant. Our job is to be actually on the plane in the air most of the time. So we kind of used to turbulence, and we know the effects, and we can explain a little bit what actually I'm doing on the video with you. They can explain that to you too, and they may have some more other information that I don't even know myself. So feel free to talk to them and explain that you're a little bit scared of flying, and then they'll look after you. But other stuff you can do is actually select your seat on the plane. Actually, usually turbulence is not that strong if you're sitting over the wing, and the second area will be the front of the plane. The area where you feel the most of the turbulence usually will be the back. So if I'm working business class, sometimes it's still like mild turbulence, but in the back it's actually way stronger and the crew has to go back to their seat. But usually over the wing is a place where, because it's the center of the plane, it's a place where you don't feel it as much. The plane goes up and down, you might feel it still, everybody is going to feel it, but the effect is not as strong as the rest of the aircraft. Second tip is to educate yourself. You're already starting by watching my videos. There's lots of videos so you can learn about turbulence, but also what's interesting is to learn about aircraft maintenance. So there's articles, there's videos, there's documentaries around that that explain how a plane is maintained. So you will see how strong it is, and how the people that look after the plane, all the engineers, they're fully trained. Like for every minute, every piece of equipment, they will have hours and hours of training about how it's made, how you check for corrosion, how is it supposed to be fitted, what to look when you do a check on the equipment and everything. Every aircraft is going on a maintenance plan, usually designed by the manufacturers, so Boeing or Airbus, in accordance with the local aviation regulations. So FAA, for example, in the US. The aircraft will go through what we call usually a C-check, which is every that many hours. The aircraft is pretty much, everything is removed in the cabin, so remove the seat, the toilet, the carpet, everything, and everything is inspected. And that's done on a regular basis. But in between the C-checks, there's other kind of check that are done by the airline or the maintenance company. So you're not going on an old plane that's about like holding with tapes. There's much more check that are done on it to make sure it's safe for you. Other tip is to make sure you put your mind somewhere else. So get some tips to divert your attention to the turbulence. So you're not just sitting on your seat watching outside and like freaking out each time the plane shakes a little bit. Just get something that's going to keep your mind busy. Bring an amazing book. Maybe it's a book you've read already in the past, but you know it was so intense and you love it so much, nothing will stop you from reading it. Like you can spend a whole night awake and not sleep because you want to read that book. Well, that's a book you want to take with you on the plane because you will be back inside the story. Bring an amazing movie or a few of them on a tablet so you can keep your mind busy too. If you're traveling with someone, plan a few subjects that you may know it will be a big discussion. Maybe stop to talk politics with your friend on the plane. Don't go into an argument, but make sure like that will keep your mind busy and you won't be even feel the small turbulence that we're going through. So there's quite a few ways to think around that. And my last tip will be to work on your breathing. If you know someone who's doing yoga, or if you do yoga yourself, talk to your or their instructor and ask about breathing technique. Yoga, Tai Chi are amazing for that. I'm not saying do yoga on board. We see sometimes passengers doing warriors in the galley or on the toilets. It's actually quite dangerous because they are on limited balance, and if there's any turbulence, this is where they're going to fall. So don't do yoga on board, but you can do yoga breathing exercise to help you. So connect with your breathing, and usually that will ease your mind and you'll feel a bit better. So thanks so much for watching this video. Again, here I will put now this direction. I will put the link to the 2 other videos that I've made around turbulence. If you have any questions, put them in the comment box below, and I'll see you next week for the next video. Bye!
Oh.